and we'll get some people coming in as well. Good, so we're up and recording. Thanks again for joining. So firstly, I'll talk a little bit about Take Your Seats. So we created the scheme, or we thought up the scheme last summer alongside our steering group, which is made up of programmers and people who represent the venues throughout the House network. They were sort of seeing that audiences were coming back really strongly for the likes of comedy and music and lots of other things in their spaces, but theatre audiences were perhaps a little bit slower coming back. We think there's the slight legacy of COVID, but then now there's a bit of a cost of living as well, and audiences have perhaps been a bit less risk-taking, wanting to choose names and events of things that they recognise and they know exactly what they're after. So we were challenged to think of a way of helping venues come up with something that will encourage audiences to return. And we looked at the success of the Love Your Local Theatre scheme, which was run by UK Theatre, which was last year offering a 2-for-1 ticket offer to audiences in conjunction with the National Lottery. And then this year they did a £25 theatre token. I think some of the venues in the network have taken part in that as well, and hopefully have seen that it's been a good way of growing audiences. However, not all our venues in the network are members of UK Theatre, so we were tasked with trying to find something that we could run for the network, and that is where Take Your Seats comes. So it's a 2-for-1 ticket scheme with the tagline of bring a friend to see great theatre for free. And so it's all about engaging maybe with people who are aware of your venue or have been before, and encourage you to come back and bring someone new with them, a friend, a relative, whoever, a date. So it's about being a social space again, and also wanting to try a new piece of theatre. So what this is going to be a campaign which is going to run across the House, the 3 productions that we're touring this autumn. However, venues do have the ability, if they want to add additional shows to that as well. The 2-for-1 ticket subsidy will only be on house shows. However, if you want to subsidise other performances that are similar to the house shows that you're taking, then you're more than welcome to do so. That will be at your own cost. But yeah, so there's financial things that I'm sure people might have questions about. We won't necessarily go into all of that today, but if you do have questions about how it's going to work, drop me a line and we can come back to you on a one-to-one basis. Today is going to be about the marketing campaign which is going on, what you can do and what we, alongside Mobius, are going to be doing as well. I think at this stage, I'll pass over to Anne to talk a little bit more about the campaign, and then we'll open up for your questions, and we want to hear from you about how we think this will work to benefit you, your audiences, and your venue best. So Anne, do you want to pick up?
Sure. Can you hear me? Is that working?
Indeed.
Yes. Cool. So yeah, I'm from Mobius, and we're running the marketing and press for the full campaign. So just a sort of bit of background on the kind of marketing side of things, and then I'll hand you over to Emma, who's running press. She can talk you through her plan. But so the sort of 3 main factors to this are, firstly, how we plan to deliver our support to you as the venues, and then kind of like a deeper look into the tactics that we have planned, and also that we have planned for the campaign as a whole, and also in kind of supporting you, and then also as a bit at the end for just some bits that would be helpful to have from you as venues who kind of know your own audiences a bit better. So to start off, yeah, so we're marketing the sort of Take Your Seats campaign and the offer rather than the specific shows. So our support is aimed at kind of supporting you to market the shows, if that makes sense. Yeah, sort of those sort of target audiences for the specific 3 shows. We've put together, Frank has put together an audience pack with some kind of more grassroots marketing techniques, which we'll talk you through in a moment, which is sort of really handy kind of outreach work to understand your audiences better and cut through to them in a slightly different way that isn't just hard sell digital ads and print ads kind of thing. If there's any information from this that you think is missing, or that you think you need kind of to just in terms of audience support, but also general things, let us know and we can update that and add any kind of additional support in if needed. And then following this call, it's still to be a date to be decided, but we're thinking kind of early July to have a workshop with your sort of junior marketing team members to kind of provide them with the full information for what sort of we hope to run and kind of empower them to run this campaign either on their own or alongside you, and just allow them to really get their teeth into something. We'll be sending around the brand assets and the guidelines once they're completed, which will be relatively soon, but it would be useful to know if you have any sort of specific things that you need in that specific format or sort of information that you need for branding. So we can get that built into the pack with our designer. And finally, we've got a list of all of the contacts, sort of press and marketing contacts from all of the house theatres, which we were planning to share with everyone, so you can kind of be in touch with your equals in other venues and kind of support each other and share any success stories and that kind of thing. Just make it a bit more of a collaborative network. So I will, in fact, John, will you send that round following this, or if you have everyone's emails?
I do have that. I can share it around afterwards. Yeah, if that's happy to do so.
Cool. Fine. So then a kind of a deeper dive into the tactics and what we've got planned for House. So we'll just do it kind of a general overview. We have press that Emma will talk to you a bit more about shortly. We're also looking at kind of top level kind of influencer and engagement kind of strategies. So reaching out to more, sort of top level people to discuss the campaign and the importance of the campaign, and going back to theatre and sort of things like that, to then build in the different more localized venue support. And then we also have a paid ad campaign to run alongside all of this work. Again, more sort of top level rather than region, sort of drilling down on the specific regions. But that will include Facebook advertising, Google Display, and Google Ad Grant to inspire lapsed bookers and the sort of harder to reach audiences, as well as train advertising and targeted smart TV ads as well. So you can get people, from lots of different angles. We've got sort of rough, let me try and, sorry, I'm not a Teams person. Here we go, I think this is right. Cool, I'm just going to share this. Hopefully you can see that.
Yeah, I can see it.
Great. So this is just so a mock-up of kind of those ads in situ, so we can do some poster display on trains in the appropriate areas, smart TV ads, so they're getting people at home as well. Obviously social media, we can do sort of the various mock-ups of those in line with the shows themselves, and front of house display across venues too. Cool. Fine. So actually, whilst I'm sharing this, this is the pack that the lovely Frank has put together for us. So I'll just run through that with you sort of briefly, but we'll send this round to you after. There's quite a lot of words, which is all really informative, but just it's sort of helpful to kind of guide you through it a bit and make sure you know where everything sits. So the little contents page, but basically there's sort of an introduction to the whole campaign, which Jonathan has already supplied us with, but just for your own reference, it's quite helpful. And various links to the different house websites and more information. A discussion of sort of audience segments, how to better understand the audience that we need. Frank's put together some really useful resources, which you may already be aware of, but if not, it's just a kind of handy little run through of audience segmentation and finding the right people. We've defined who we understand as the audiences for these shows as well here. So a bit more understanding of kind of the overview of them. And then a bit further information following on from that, once you have your audiences, the techniques that we found that work really well, sort of free in terms of money, but costly in terms of people hours. So it's worth kind of, yeah, putting the time into it really is reaching out to people via community emails and via seeding posts on suitable Facebook and social media groups. So community emails, once you've decided who your target audience is about, understanding where those people are, so reaching out to suitable local other venues or organisations or specific schools that focus on angles of the show, or sort of just drilling down basically into the themes of each show, and reaching out to the appropriate sort of organisations where those people would be and asking them to share the information with their own networks. So Frank's given a far more thorough account of what is involved with that in this section here, and how to kind of monitor that and track that and research that. It's very thorough. And similarly, just sort of further down, a little bit about trackable links. The sort of downside, I suppose, of this style of marketing is because it isn't the standard paid digital advertising. There isn't someone tracking who's clicking on what and kind of monitoring its success. So we've just found using Google Analytics and the campaign URL builder the best way to understand who's how successful these are being really, and who's clicking on those links, because once it goes out into the ether, you don't know how many people are looking at it. So run through how that works. And seeding is a very similar sort of method, but instead of emailing people, it's using suitable Facebook groups. So we found, particularly over lockdown, that seems to have kind of had a bit more of a legacy and carried on, that the local Facebook groups have a huge amount of interest on kind of what's on and sharing news. The sort of, even the really local sort of neighbourhood ones applying to a specific postcode in an area, that kind of thing can be really useful to reach people. Again, making sure you're looking at sort of targeted in terms of area and often in terms of theme. If they're, for example, we ran a show a while ago about climate change. So we drilled down into groups where people with climate change as their interest and kind of passion, and posted about the shows in there. Again, this has got much more of a sort of like word of mouth feel to it. So it comes across as a genuine, like, we thought you'd be interested in this sort of post, rather than just a big splashy paid ad, here's a booking link kind of thing. So we found that works quite well. Again, trackable links are useful because once it's posted, it's really hard to see who's engaging with it, because unless you're going off likes and comments underneath, which on this type of post are very slim because people are more talking about it rather than commenting on it and clicking the link. So it's good to be able to track that. There's a lot of tips on how best to do that, because some of the groups are quite wary of just people splashing advertising in their group, which is completely understandable. So it's how best to approach that and make sure it's targeted at the correct interest groups, and done in a kind of like effective, copywritten, we thought you'd be interested way, rather than just another way to put an advert in. So yeah, again, kind of further examples of how best to work through that as well. So that's a very, very quick overview to hopefully give you an idea of how to use the sheet. But if you have any questions, Frank is here. If there's any immediate questions, or we can have a look at that further down the line if needed. And then finally, the support that we need from you is just a bit more knowledge of your local audiences and your local areas, and kind of your understanding and passion for theatre in your area, because you're much better situated to understand that than we are, and what works best for your audiences. Any kind of local anecdotal stories that we can share to other venues as well is useful. And then also just your support to help us push this workload to your assistant level staff as well, because yeah, the more that we can work and make sure everyone's working in collaboration, the better really. And with a lot of, particularly the community and seeding outreach is quite time consuming. So if that can be sort of taken on by other members of your team, that's really helpful. I think that's it for now, unless you have any questions or I've missed anything very obvious or anything that needs clarifying a bit more. Cool. I think Emma's got some press thoughts.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma, I'm head of press at Mobius. So I just want to talk briefly through sort of the press campaign, which will probably kick in slightly later than a lot of the marketing stuff, but it's really good to start now, so that we've got everything prepared and ready to go. So the support that Mobius are giving, we're aiming at sort of the arts industry press, but also sort of the sort of more top level regional press. We will leave local press up to you, because obviously you know your local press best, but where it comes to lots of venues in one region, it's helpful for us to sort of collect those stories together and hit that sort of those top level regional press publications all in one go. So the main sort of story for press is that so the two sort of angles that we're going with is it's coming back to your local theatre. This is a big campaign to get people to come back to their local theatres, rather than going into the West End or going to just to the same old music and comedy that they've always gone to. Is come back to your local theatre and rediscover new writing or independent work. And the other story is that there's lots of theatres working together in the region. It's not just a couple of individual venues going out their own. It's a load of venues coming together and really working together to support new theatre. So what we need from you at this stage is stories. It's really important to give this colour. This is not just don't go to the West End because it's expensive. This is why should you go to your local theatre? So any stories that you have from maybe you've got long-standing members of staff who have been with your theatre for years and years, and they've got some really interesting anecdotes and everybody in the theatre knows them. Or maybe there's long-standing audience members who similarly everybody remembers them, and every time they come into the theatre everybody knows who they are. Or the groups that come into your theatres, the people that meet there regularly, all those kind of the things that give it a bit of character, the things that say why local theatre is great, why go to your local venue, why support your local venue and keep going back to your local venue, rather than just, it's not just a night out, it's a community. And then the other things that, anything else that you might be doing individually to bring audiences into your local theatres, any kind of maybe individually or maybe with other venues in your area, anything that you're doing to bring audiences back to your theatres. It's just worth us knowing that, so we can add that into the story of why come back to your local theatres and what theatres are doing to bring audiences back. So that's mostly it from me. So at the moment I'm at story gathering stage, so any stories that you have, please do send them my way, and please do start thinking about for your own pitching, like why people should be coming back to local theatres, and what the stories behind your theatres are. And then a bit further down the line, once we've got this, I'll collate it into some useful documents to give you some pitch ideas that you can use for your own local press, and some useful things like quotes from house and quotes from the companies involved as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Anne and Emma. It was great that we were the scheme launched last week in the stage and had that coverage, which was really good to see, and get that sort of more nationwide backing for it as well. And that's the sort of thing that we're trying to offer to your venues, being part of something bigger, and audiences being aware that there's an excitement, there's something that's going on more than just at the theatre. That's the struggle I know at times with like one night only performances, that it's quite hard to build a sort of a buzz about it and then it's gone. Like if you can have it, be part of something bigger, that certainly helps. So that's the plan with all of the sort of the PR and everything. In terms of those anecdotes, you can send to myself, or I guess I can, Emma, you're happy for people to email you directly, is that okay? Yeah, great. I'll maybe pop your email in the follow-up to this then. That'll be great. And these are sort of anecdotes from maybe regular audience members, or funny stories about new audiences that have came to see maybe a previous contemporary theatre show, and what a good time they've had, things that they've shared with you after their experience, going, wow, would never have come to anything like that normally, but it was absolutely brilliant. I was sent one from Jo Fong from The Rest of Our Lives, that I know some of you are taking as part of this season. She sent an audience one feedback, which was just brilliant, about how this woman said she was just having a bad day. She was thinking about ditching it, not going out at all. But the experience of going out completely changed her mood. It was the most joyous experience she'd had. And yeah, I'll share that with the Mobius team. But it's a really nice example of the sort of things that we're after. Also, having a look at some of your sort of who we are job pages. I see that a few of you have some fairly interesting trustees. I'm seeing the sort of some big hitters. I'm seeing the Julie Walters, the Judy Denches, the Hugh Bonnevilles. If you do have an angle of being able to talk to them and seeing whether they're interested in a sort of, you know, supporting the theatre and saying something about how great it is to support local theatres, I'm sure we'd be very happy to take any quotes or comments from them. So please, if you do have a way in to Judy Dench's emails, then do think about us. Great. I should probably tell you some of the practical things as well about this this campaign. So I know that some of you are at brochure stage at the moment. You might have, there we go, we'll aim for Judy. I knew it was Fifth or Bury St Edmunds. So in terms of the practicalities of this, you're at brochures. Some of you are already going to print or you're very close to doing so. This isn't something that necessarily has to go in your brochure. You know, perhaps if you want to, we're going to leave it very much up to you for how you do it. The actual implication of it is going to be sort of up to you how you want to do it. It's, you know, we will agree with you how many tickets based on your ticket price and other factors as well, how many you've got, but then it's through your booking system that it's working. So how I'm picturing this, hopefully this will work for all of your office systems, it's just like a promo code, take your seats, and then it cuts off after the number of uses that are agreed. So it's a 2-for-1 scheme. So you buy a ticket to this event, you get it replicated and get another one as well. So hopefully that's something that would work for you. Please shout if you think you have any concerns about how that would be administered. I don't know if that will be yourselves in team marketing, or it'd probably be your box office team that will be actually putting this in, and your programmer agreeing with them how many it is, how many seats. But we wanted to keep it quite straightforward and on your website. So rather than it being, should I say, a separate website, we're thinking that for each of these shows, I'm going to send around a little bit of blurb about this show is part of the Take Your Seats event. You can get 2-for-1 tickets, by using this code, first come, first served, get here whilst you can, get it whilst you can. And then that's what I'm thinking would be great. The reason why it doesn't necessarily matter whether it goes in the brochure is because we're hoping that this is going to be targeting your lapsed bookers or some maybe new using it for audience development as well. So this will be sort of pushed through the digital marketing and the support which follows your sort of brochure launch. I know quite a lot of you have member schemes and friends, and you maybe have a big push from them booking. It would be a shame. We don't necessarily want those people to be the ones who are benefiting from the 2-for-1 scheme. We really want it to be, a targeted approach onto those sort of lapse bookers, going through your booking history and going, okay, who hasn't attended since before 2020 or something like that, and considering pushing this to them, or using the Facebook and other ones to go after certain groups, using the audience spectrums as well, which sounds like this the toolkit that you're going to get will give you some really good ideas about how you could reach some new audiences with it. At this stage, I'd like to throw it out to you for questions. If you want to raise your hand or jump in or put something in the chat. So I haven't checked the chat in a while, actually. If anyone's got questions about actually doing this campaign and how you think it might work at your venue.
Jonathan, if you don't mind, I just wanted to ask, when will the campaign launch?
So we've had a sort of an industry launch, which happened last week. And then I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Emma, and we're looking at this sort of coming out to more audiences in the next month or so, I would say, once we have the pack. And it's, you know, alongside your announcement of your autumn season as well. Obviously, I think there's going to be maybe a sort of a two-stage way of doing this. You could do it when you launch your season, and then, you know, we're obviously coming up to the summer period where perhaps we find that audiences aren't coming in as much. You know, they're looking for other things, they're doing other things, they're off on summer holidays. I'm seeing there being a sort of second big push, or the main big push will be from end of August, start of September, people coming back home from holidays, people coming inside. The actual tours are running from the 14th of September all the way through to the end of November. So we're looking more towards like the campaign being sustained throughout the autumn months. So it sort of works with you when you want to do it, but from our sort of big push, we'll be doing it from the start of the autumn, I would say. Becca has said, could you explain more about using the offer on shows not from house? Have I misheard? So basically what we're going to do as part of the toolkit, we'll provide Take Your Seats artwork and everything for each of the shows that house is offering. So you can take that and use it however you like, and you know, whether lots of you are just taking maybe just one show from the season, but a few of you are taking multiple, so you can sort of apply it how you want to. What we'll also do, if you just want to be part of the PR, you want to add your own shows, we'll provide the sort of blank Take Your Seats minus the house shows, and you can apply that to your other events that you're going on. Maybe you've got other contemporary theatre that you want to do as well. So for those, we won't subsidise the 2-for-1 scheme. You'll have to do that yourself. So basically, we're providing £200 worth of free tickets per house show that you take. So you might want to do the same, you know, put aside that same amount of money to expand the scheme and add other shows to it as well. But what we'll do, you can say it's part of it, you can add the branding to it as well, and do what you like. Hopefully that answers your question, Becca. That's great, thanks. Good. So anyone have any sort of thoughts or ideas about what they might how they might use it, or might use this offer to, you know, what audiences they might go after? It sort of depends on the show, I guess. I might pick on someone. I hope you don't mind. And that's awful, isn't it? But I'm going to pick on James because I can see him. James, at the point, which shows are you taking down there? If you can.
Sorry, yeah. Just had an ambulance go past. Well, I think, yeah, so we're taking The Very Old Man with Enormous Wings and also The Rest of Our Lives. So, yeah, I think probably, yeah, it will be really interesting to we have had, yeah, definitely, as you've said, we've had a real issue with contemporary theatre audiences being quite slow to come back, whereas the other audiences for stuff like comedy and stuff have been sort of really strong over the last couple of seasons. So yeah, I think it would be really good to try and aim for those people who'd been kind of regularly coming to our contemporary theatre shows probably before COVID. We haven't had too many since COVID. So yeah, I think that's where we'll kind of aim it at. Yeah.
Thanks, James. Sorry, I picked on you there. Yeah, I think you've got two quite different shows, haven't you? You can go after sort of the family audiences for one, and did you say Rest of Our Lives, the other one? Yes. Yeah, and that's great, and that's a sort of perhaps a slightly older demographic. That's all about sort of not aging disgracefully, but it's sort of celebrating aging and everything. So you can sort of go after two quite different audiences, and yeah, I think the older, you know, perhaps we've seen through data that older audiences have been coming back less. Maybe it's a sort of the COVID thing or other things that they found to do. So I think this will be a really good opportunity to try and target those audiences and encourage them to come back. So Great. Thank you. Anyone have any other sort of things they want to ask at this stage, or do you want to wait and see the marketing pack and go from there? Amazing. Okay, well, we're always around to help, and we will have this sort of follow-up meeting with either yourselves, if you are the marketing team, or a different member of staff. But we really want to empower you to have the tools so that you can take this, out to your audiences. The idea being that I think there's sort of the two sides of it. There's the sort of the support package of what we're going to offer from House and Mobius, and the supporting, I've done that the wrong way around, but there's the stuff that we're going to give to you so you can do it as well. So we're currently, the idea is you're sending your brochures out, you're very busy at the moment, you're setting up online, and when you come to setting up online, you build in that sort of get the promo code and get the ticket bit ready, and then let's launch the campaign in a month or two's time. But yeah, any queries or any things that you're concerned about, we're learning as well by doing this with you, then please do get in touch, and we'll go from there. Well, thank you ever so much for your time all. There we go.